So in the last few classes, right? So like we have discussed about the agile process and we have discussed about the different types of testing, and later like we have discussed how we can do the test design. So I have highlighted like we are going to do the test design with the help of the behavior driven development, which is nothing but we are going to use the be ready for the test design. And where we are going to do this test design in the sense, so basically like inside the Jira board. So I have already like given the walkthrough about the Jira board. So basically, right, so whenever we open the Jira board, like we always have the backlog. So inside the backlog, so they will be splitted up in a epic wise, or we can tell it as a feature wise, and under each and every feature, so like the multiple user stories will be mapped, and we are going to work on the respective user story. So if we just open this particular epic, so in under this epic, like we are having like close to like three user story, and we will be start working on this three user story. And what is the first thing we used to do in the sense, like the developer will analyze the user story and they will be starting the development activity. But as a QA, right, so we are going to do the test design. So test design is nothing but like we are going to derive all possible scenarios. So for example, let me just open this user story called as an LM4. So the notification to customer over the test message and the email. Okay, so like as part of this epic, so the Amazon is going to like introduce the pay later option, and in which like one user story they have created is like, so whenever the customer use the pay later option, and if they place the order, then immediately after an order, so it should like trigger the mail to them. So or else it should trigger the like text message notification to them. And also like as part of the pay later, right, so the user can pay, they can settle up the money so in next 56 days, which means like they should send a frequent reminder, so twice in a month, so over the text message and the mail. So this is the like a functional behavior, and the developers are going to implement the same logic. And in order to test this, right, we are going to derive all possible scenarios. So how we are going to derive in the sense, so basically, right, inside the project management tool, okay, so they will be configuring the plugin for the behavior driven development. So they will be configuring the official be ready plugin. But currently like I am using the free version of Jira, like I have added one like open source plugin, so which will support the behavior driven test design. So the plugin which I have added, we call it as an Jeopardy scale. Okay. So now I'm just opening this plugin. Okay. So it will take some time to load, and we are going to do the test design with the help of this plugin. And post completing the test design, like we are going to map the appropriate test cases or test scenario to the relevant user story. So I told, so we every time we work in a feature wise. So basically, right, we used to create a keyword called as a feature, and under this feature keyword we will be specifying the purpose where we are going to map all relevant scenarios. In similar way, so like we should create a new folder. So let's say like what is the new feature which we are working currently, it is of an Amazon pay later. So I can say like Amazon pay later, I'm creating the new folder called as an Amazon pay later, and inside this Amazon pay later I'm going to add all relevant test cases, and then I'm going to map each and every test cases to the particular user story. And how we are going to map in the sense, so like we are having the option called as an like add a new test case. So if you click on this particular button, right, so it will be just opening the new tab. So we are having different sections like details, test script, execution, etc. So we always do the test design in the test script. So which is nothing but where we are going to add all the test steps. But inside the details section, so we need to like mention the scenario name. So like whatever the keyword which we have used, we have used the scenario keyword, and under the scenario keyword, like we have specified the scenario. We have added the elaborative description, like what we are going to test. In similar way, like we need to add the elaborative description over here. Okay, so now as part of this particular user story, so now let me just reopen the user story and let us read like what we are going to do. So we are going to verify so whether the text message as well as the email is triggered to the customer. Okay, so now I can add the new test case. So let's say let it be of an so notification to the customer via email. Okay, so I'm just adding the new scenario that I'm going to check their notification, whether the notification is sent to the customer through email, and how we are going to validate this scenario in the sense. So we need to navigate to this test script tab, and in which in the test type, so we should change to the BDD. Okay, so here we are going to map the appropriate test steps. So what will be the test step? So like in the given statement, I can say, so user search a product and navigate to car page. Okay. So or we can say they will be navigating to the payment page. And when user selects the pay later option. Okay. So the user is selecting the pay later option and another user action. So I'm using the and keyword and user selects buy now option. And what is the expected behavior? Then order should be placed. Okay, and the notification should trigger to the mail ID. Okay, so this is the test step we need to write, and then we will be clicking on save button. So this is like one of the test case which we have written. So now I'm navigating back to the test case. So this is like kind of an epic level, and I'm adding one more new test case. So let it be like kind of an so notification to the customer via SMS. Okay, again I'm navigating to the test script. I'm filtering it by the BDD Gherkin. Like I'm just uploading the test step. So to the linked mobile ID. Okay, so the notification should be sent to the linked mobile ID. So now we have added, okay, so two test cases, which is nothing but we have added two test scenario, and we need to map this two test scenario to the respective user story. So how we can map in the sense we can navigate to the particular user story. Okay, here there is an option called as an JB scale. I'm just clicking on the JB scale and one option will be loaded. So either to create a new test case or add an existing one. So as we have created, so we can click on add an existing one. Okay, so now I'm just creating, I'm just whatever the test scenario we have created, so which is relevant to this particular user story, we can select the particular test cases and we can click on add button and post that like the appropriate test case will be added up. And here you could see like some test ID is generated like LMT3, LMT4. And if you notice like the status of the test design is in the drafted status. Okay, so I have already told like whenever we derive all possible scenarios, so like either the test lead or the business analyst will review the test scenarios which we have written. So what they used to do, so whatever the test scenario we have created, so they are going to review, and if it is okay, so in the status tab, so they will approve it. Okay, I already told, so we always use the approved test scenario for the execution. I'm just changing the status to approved. Okay, and I'm navigating to this, and also like I'm approving the second scenario. So we are just approving like all the scenarios which we have created. So which is nothing but they are doing the review on approval process. So whatever the scenario we have created, so the business analyst or test lead will review that and they will approve. And once they approve, so the status will be changed to approved. So we always use this approved scenario for the execution. Okay, so and in case if we have missed any of the test coverage, so any of the test scenario, if you have failed to add one possible test scenario, then in the comment section, so the business analyst will suggest us, or the test lead will suggest us, please include this particular scenario. So they will be providing the suggestion to this to us. Okay, so by this way, like we can ensure like we are creating the like effective test cases. Okay, so now I'm just changing the status of the second test case, and I'm just changing the status to the approved and clicking on save button. Okay, so this is how like we are going to map the appropriate test cases to the respective user story. Okay, so now this particular user story is having only two test case. So now when we are going to execute this test case in the sense, so post completing the development activity. Okay, so whenever like we are working on particular user story, so everyone will create a subtask under it. So here there is an option called as an add child issue. So initially, so the development team will create a subtask. So let it be of an dev analysis. Okay, so as they are doing the initial analysis, they will be creating the dev analysis, and once they complete their analysis, so they will be doing the development activity. Okay, so they can say development activity, and once they complete the development activity, so we are going to pick the testing activity, so which is nothing but we are going to do the test design, okay, followed by the test execution. So for each and everything, like we will be creating the subtask under the respective user story. So when the developer complete the dev analysis, they will be just make the, change the status to done. So in case if the development activity is in progress, they will be changing the status to like in development, or if they have completed, they can change to done. And if you have done with the test design, yes, we can change to done. And in case if you are working on the test execution, so then we can say like it is in testing. Okay, so when we can close this particular user story in the sense, so one and only if we executed all possible test scenario which is linked to this particular user story. And another thing is like whenever we are verifying this, so it should work as expected. So which means the test scenario should be pass. So if there is an issue, then we are going to log a defect and we are going to map the defect to this particular user story. And suppose consider that it is working as expected. Then what we need to do, like here there is an start an new test execution button. If you just click on this play button, okay, a new tab will be enabled, so where we need to attach the test evidence. So initially like we need to select the environment, so in which environment you have tested this. So by default, like whatever the environment which is configured to your project, so it will be listing down all the environment, like either this is environment, sitar, UAT environment or QA environment, etc. So you need to select the appropriate test environment, and then you need to click on the start button. Okay, so now like you are going to attach the test evidence over here. So here there is an attachment tab. So the test evidence is nothing but we are going to take the screenshot and we are going to attach all the relevant screenshot over here. And if everything is working as expected, so we can make it as pass. Okay, so now we have executed this particular scenario. So now if I navigate back to the respective user story, and if I check the status of the particular scenario, okay, so the first scenario will be in pass. You could see it is appearing in green color logo, which means it indicates it's in pass. So in case if you fail, it will be in the red color. So in order to close the particular user story, so all the relevant test scenarios should be executed. So one and only if all the test scenarios are executed and it should pass, we can close the user story to the ready for acceptance, as I told. So initially it will be the new status, and once the developer picks, it will be in the in development, and once it is ready for QA, so like they will be moving to the status to the ready for QA, and while testing we will be changing the status to in testing, and then like after completing the testing we will be closing the respective subtask, and as well as like we will be changing the status of the user story. Okay, here you could see this is the status of the user story. So you can change the status of the user story. Once you have completed the user story, you can make it as done. So which is nothing but you are changing to ready for acceptance. And also like before closing this particular user story, all the relevant subtasks should be completed. So there should not be any open subtask. There should not be any unexecuted test case. And in case if there is any defect mapped, so the defect should be tested properly so that like we can close the relevant user story. And as I told in an agile, so like generally we will be having the scrum call. Okay, so here like we can able to see in the dashboard. So currently we are working on the sprint 4. So whatever the user story which is tagged as part of the sprint 4, it will be populating over here. So the scrum master will clicking the prospective user story, and under which like he will get to know the subtask, and he will ask each and every one, so why this analysis is open. So when you will close this design subtask, when we will be closing the execution of task. So post execution, like if the business analyst is checking the result, then they will add one more subtask called as an BA review. So likewise, we'll be creating the subtask under you each and every user story. So the development will create the development standpoint subtask, and the QA team will create the QA standpoint subtask. So basically like all the subtasks should be created. So by this way, like everyone will get to know so what we are working on, because like we will be having the transparency. So I have already repeated in an agile, so like we always have the transparency. So even like if we click on the timeline tab, so we will get to know so what is the plan. So generally we are working on the sprint model, so we will be having the start date and end date of each and every sprint, and under each and every sprint they will be mapping the relevant epic. Okay, so because like in an agile they will based upon the business need, so they will be keep on creating new epic, and we are working on epic wise, and under each and every epic we will be having the multiple user story, and we may complete those user story either in a single sprint or in a multiple sprint. Okay, so whenever we are picking any of the user story, so the developer will develop the user story. As a testing team we are going to do the test design, so which is nothing but like we are going to like add all the possible scenarios. So like for example, if some new epic is created, so let's say like the Amazon is introducing new authentication. Okay, so moving forward, one and only if the user plays the fingerprint, so the user can able to log in the Amazon application. If they have introduced this new feature for this mobile, then so they will be creating the new epic. Okay, so let it be of an like fingerprint authentication. Okay, and in order to validate this particular epic, whatever the relevant user story we have, we will be like mapping all the relevant user story into this particular epic. So we are just grouping the test cases in epic wise. Okay, and here like post deriving all possible scenarios, so we will be segregating like whether it is a unit test case, sorry, not a unit test case, either it is a smoke test case or whether it is a regression test case or etc. Okay, so we will be adding the comments over here. So what is the a type of testing it is. Okay, so either it is an unit test case or the smoke test case or the regression test case, etc. And also right, so whenever you are verifying any of the test scenario, if you have any precondition, we will be mentioning the precondition over it. Okay, and also like in a history tab, like generally whenever we modify something, so all the relevant information will be captured in the history tag. So you could see like initially like I have created the test case, and post that like I have made some changes, and then I have changed the status from draft to approved. So whatever the action we are doing on the appropriate user story or in the appropriate test cases, okay, so everything will be captured in the history screen. Okay, so that like we will be having a track, so like what we have done previously in the particular user story. Okay, so like this is how like we will be working in the real time. Okay, so whenever like you are picking up any of the user story, so you should do the test design only in the Jira board, and generally we are going to use the same test design for the automation as well. And in an automation, I have told like generally, right? So we will be having some unique tag over the each and every scenario. So how they will be providing a unique tag in the sense, so whenever we are creating the new test case, some unique ID will be created. So what is the unique ID? Which is LMT4, which means the tag name will be at LM-T4. So whenever we are running the script in the CI/CD server, based upon the tag, so it will identify the relevant test ID and it will update the status accordingly. So this is how the status will be reflected from the server to the respective project management tool. So you don't need to worry about this integration, because like it will be taken care of by the from the project side. Okay, so our focus should be always deriving all possible scenarios. So we should cover all possible scenarios. So the reason is like, so because one and only if the test coverage is correct or if it is high, so we can avoid the defects. Okay, so even like we can avoid the live issues. So live issues is nothing but, so whenever the customer identifies some issues, we call it as a live issues. So post delivering the product to the end customer, if they found some issues, we call it as a live issues. And how we can avoid the live issues in the sense, by covering all possible test scenarios. As I told, like while covering all possible scenarios, so you should consider the functional validation as the first priority, and also like you should consider the UI validation. And we are deriving everything in the way of BDD. Okay, so like BDD is nothing but whenever we design in a BDD, so everyone can understand it. So both the technical as well as the non-technical person can understand it, because like it is a simple English language. Okay, so that is why everywhere they are using the BDD, and it is not mandatory like everywhere they will be using the same plugin. So in a real-time project, they will be using the official BDD plugin. Okay, so whatever the plugin they are using, so just we need to we navigate to the particular plugin and we need to create the epic wise folder, and under which like we need to map all the relevant test scenarios. Okay, so in case if it is like failed or if it is blocked, then you can change the status accordingly. So how you can change the status in the sense, so only by navigating to the particular user story, and under the particular user story, so you will be having the run option, and with the help of the run action, so either you can pass or fail the test case. So whenever you fail the test case, so we should log a defect for the same, and we should map the defect accordingly. Okay, not accordingly, we should map the defect in this particular user story, so that like we will be in track. Okay, so whenever we are creating the new defects, so even the defects will be populating in the Jira board. Okay, so now as a next part, we are going to discuss like how we are going to log a defect, and how we are going to fail the test scenario, and post logging the defect, how we are going to map the defect in this particular user story. Okay, so till this point, do you have any